tell me your story. What have you guys been up to?
From the start, you want to know where we started from, where we came from?
Yeah, because I know it's a great story. Family started right local, and
yeah, in a lot of cases. So 1995 was the first year that we were founded. We started off in Edmonton, actually, and we're an industrial fabricator, and so our products are pipe spools and structural steel.
Yep.
So in 1995, the founder got a chance from a couple of business partners that were the money guys, essentially. And they saw an opportunity to do a little bit of fabrication in that environment. And it started with a lot of local people from the Onaway area that ended up traveling to Edmonton to do a lot of this work. Fast forward a few years, and the business got its feet underneath it, and through different engineering houses and whatnot, got a lot of opportunity, and we saw the need to grow. So between 97 and 2006, we needed to find another place to grow into. And knowing that a lot of people are doing that travel and whatnot, we thought, rather than bring the shop to the people, let's bring the people to the shop.
Yep.
And they ended up coming out. We ended up looking out here in Onaway for a number of different reasons. First and foremost, we're all about people, and the people are what drive this business. We supply labor as a living, so that goes right from pipe fitters and welders to engineers, material handlers, individuals.
Truck drivers, crane operators.
Yep.
Yeah, put together a list of all the people that. But it's lots. It's lots to take it from where we start with it to all the way through to the end. Yeah, there's a lot of people, more than just a skilled trade that you think or that you see working every day.
Well, and logistics too. I mean, Onaway has the moniker, hub of the highways.
Yeah.
So logistically, you guys have an advantage with that too. You're already kind of sitting on the heavy haul routes. You don't have to worry about a bunch of overheads. Yeah. You can get to north, south, east, west. Like it's kind of a strategic spot there too for you guys.
100%, and you see that with the local education system too. So we're a catchment basin for a lot of the kids from Sangudo and Marathon and different places. They end up coming to school here as well. And our community is set up around that. So you see a lot of people, rather than wanting to move into the city, they come up for acreage of living. They get more bang for their buck. They want their kids to go to a rural school and whatnot, and they have the ability to be at home every night and work. So attachment to the heavy haul corridor is important, but it's a catchment of people right from Edmonton all the way up to Edson and Whitecourt and whatnot. There's people that travel a few minutes to get to work here, but it's set up in an area that allows for us to do that.
Well, and arguably, folks would rather. I personally would. I'd rather drive half an hour on the highway than half an hour in the city anytime. Light to light is. Getting there.
Yeah.
So what's the average age of your workforce? Like you guys you sold out, I think it was, right? And then a bunch of guys cashed out and ended up buying back in.
Yeah, so the way the three principal owners ended up selling out, and not sell out, like it was a good news story for everyone.
Yeah, not as sell out as, like the Neil Young song might say. Cashed out is the way I like to say it. They've earned it. They, did a good thing.
You get to a certain point where a lot of money and whatnot tied up, so we needed to look at doing business differently.
Yeah.
And overall, it made sense for them. It made sense for the business because, as you can see, a lot of the competitors aren't around anymore, and you have to kind of understand what the demands are for our product and whatnot. But with that being said, there are still a few of us that are owners, our executive is, and we're all from Onaway as well. So it's a kind of a good news community story, all untold from that perspective. But yeah, private equity is involved right now. They love the community aspect of us. They love the location. They like the relationships that we had locally because no different than what you were just talking about for that rail line project. We can actually make a decision and act on it immediately versus going through a bunch of bureaucratic red tape. So that's been really supportive for our growth as well.
Well, and some companies lose sight of that, right? And that's one thing I really like about Academy. You guys haven't forgot where you came from because you're still here, as part of it. And also, again, to, your point, Dustin, that's the rural Alberta advantage.
Yeah.
A lot of times we get that moniker that, why would you work in rural? Well, here's the reason why. Lower overheads, you got a decent workforce, you've got people that are loyal to the area and the community, both on the business side and people loyal to the business. And when there is opportunity to grow your business, a lot of folks reinvest back into it, which is, to me, huge.
Yeah. It's kind of neat, like when you grow up in a community like this, there's different skill sets that are inherent. And we found that with a lot of the local kids, and myself and Garrett included. Yeah. But for people, especially on the shop floor, they know what equipment is, they know what welding is, they see an opportunity for them in trades, and it's an easy training ground for them to allow for them to do that. And same with the community aspect. I mean, we've had problems or opportunities, I should say, like no other business has, or like a lot of other business has.
Yep.
But we've been able to work with local government and communities and whatnot to be able to get over that. Like a couple that come to mind are the internet that we just made improvements to over the last couple of years. Like, I mean, it's an essential service for us, and we were able to work with the local town and government officials to make that happen. And they've been really supportive. And you can pick up the phone, they're approachable people, and we get action right away. So it's been a feel good story.
Yeah, when you've got a bureaucracy that consists of 4 people, it's pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know, not to pick on Edmonton, they become this big brontosaurus that it would bleed out by the time its head realized that something was chewing on its tail. Like, I mean, they're losing it. So you guys had the advantage that way. And again, my little office is just down the road too. So you kind of have, you know, the trifecta, if you would, that's sitting there that really wants this to succeed for all the right reasons. And again, the connectivity and the rural internet, we'll go on a bit of a rabbit hole for there too. Yeah, you guys absolutely need it. Yeah, it's required. It's on our radar. You know, we were really good at building out the SuperNet 15 years ago, and then we kind of stopped. Yeah. But the business models that you have in a lot of companies that run their control systems and they're dealing and interfacing with and everything else, folks have to understand that it gobbles up tons and tons and tons and tons of data and tons of that fiber, right? Yeah. So you guys need to have that to be able to continue to grow and to be here. If we, for some reason, neglected that and snipped the umbilical cord, well then you would pick up and move literally to another jurisdiction or area where you would have that connectivity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice. It's a multifaceted organization, so a lot of people can see and touch and feel the end result of the fabricated elements that we put together.
Yeah.
But it's all the information and that leading up to that, and especially all the information leaving that there's a high demand for all that kind of technical expertise. Communication as well, like even internally as an organization, we've seen through growth that there's a huge demand on that, and unless you have the infrastructure, you can't make it happen.
Yeah, well, and quality control too. Well, and the other thing folks might not appreciate is that each owner, even though we have specifications, you got the standards, the CSA or Z661 or whatever you're looking at, but each owner then will skin the cat a little bit different for themselves of what they prefer for in-house standards. So with that being multifaceted, you literally have one guy that's welding or one lady that's welding or doing that, having to jump over and then transition, and not only in product types, but owner specs within that. And then I would imagine, like every other owner, they've got a handful of inspectors out here that are also in your business every day too. So you have that line of sight. They're looking at it, making sure that quality's there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and twofold on that. Not only does it add to the catchment and it helps out the surrounding community, because you're right. Out of the 180 plus employees that we have out here in Onaway, I think there's 6 or 7 full-time inspectors that represent different GCs and owners and whatnot. So that's great, but also the skill sets. We've had a lot of success stories where there's father and son teams that start off in the trades together, and you can kind of apprentice under your dad, and we have lots of family members from the same household and whatnot that work here. But also with specific skills, it's not like you're just doing one process and you're one-dimensional. You get the opportunity when you do a bunch of those different projects to have a long tenure here, and then you're multi-dimensional. You can do a bunch of different styles of welding. You can dabble in fitting. We've had people from the quality department to the project team, and we've got a number of engineers that now are employed with us. So it's kind of seen.
Well, and hands-on. So, I mean, you want to train some technical folks, and you put them out there and they have this close of interaction with the trades. And, you know, what I've seen in the past are kind of walking around, there is no difference in parity of esteem. It's one big team that you guys have. Everybody knows that there's a project concept to it. You got clients to meet, and if person fails, whether it's on a trade or the engineering or the accounting or otherwise, it puts everyone's livelihood at jeopardy. And so with that, where do you want to take us on this and literally show off what you guys have here? What's the secret sauce that you can talk about and your success, and where do you want to grow this thing?
Yeah, it's so first and foremost and always has been our people. It's our people and our culture. So we talked about it in a couple of different elements earlier on, but that community and culture is number one. And people take it very seriously. There's a big teamwork here, but we can't do it without doing it together with everybody that's out there on the shop floors and outside and whatnot. So it's where we want to take it as a group. It's not just up to me, and it's not just up to Garrett and our executive and whatnot. And we want to be able to keep people employed and fair days paid for fair days work, and continue to give them opportunities and continue to give kids and whatnot the opportunity from schools to come here and get it. We've been on a pretty high trajectory since inception for the company. We come from humble beginnings, just like every company does. So it's a similar story where it started with 1 or 2 people, and it kind of grew over and over as years go by. And we want to continue in that. And we don't just want it to be one-dimensional fabrication. We're looking into doing more green initiatives. We're looking to continue to diversify our portfolio. We've already dabbled into transportation, for example, so that we can be more of a turnkey solution to a lot of our clients.
So you do the logistics yourself, have your own trucks and move it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You'll see examples where there's some of the biggest mainline block valve assemblies that the world has ever seen that are out here right now, and so we're not self-performing, but we have alliances with other companies that are actually coating stuff on our facility.
No, that's good. Well, I'm excited to go take a look at the yard. You know, we're talking about pipe now. I want to go see some here. And for me, this is kind of nice to step away from the suit for a bit and actually look at a job site again.
You got your work boots.
Absolutely, I got my boots on again, and I've got my vest, and I even brought my own high vis and got my own hat. And I might have to get some glasses from you. Mine are pretty scratched up, but I'm good to go. This is good. Thanks for having me on. Dustin, maybe just fill us in. We were just coming over from your main office. We were talking about the industry, and you started showing me and talking about some of the buildings and the history you had and the growth you've had. You want to just go over that a little bit again for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Had a great opportunity here with the local community to build a sustainable company. Started off with small growth, and thanks to a lot of good customers, whether it be GCs and owners or engineering firms, we've been able to employ a lot of people for a number of years. With all that opportunity comes a lot of challenges along the way. We've been able to overcome a lot of those with local government officials and the town and whatnot, and always new opportunities to grow. I think the one that we were just talking about is access to different highways and heavy haul corridors. Some of the projects we've recently completed, and also some new opportunities come up that have that demand to be able to get our product safely onto heavy haul transportation corridors. And we're seeing that opportunity right now, and I'll take you for a tour later on to show you how we can get trucks in and out a lot faster and safer and more efficient for us as a company.
No, perfect. And I like the fact you were talking about. You had one little building you bought when you first took that leap of faith and came out here from Edmonton and moved your fabrication facilities. You had 2 or 3 acres, and then it started growing, and then the industry reputation was getting more and more and more, so you had more clients coming to the door, and then you needed more space. So you made that proposal to go to town council essentially and say, hey, you got an industrial park. What if we just took a whole chunk of it? Actually, 50 acres. That'll give us room to expand. And lo and behold, here you are. You have expanded. You're utilizing that. And honestly, if there's a bit of a pinch point that's not helping your growth, is simply an access over here for highways. Let's talk about that. Let's see what we can do to help you out to make sure that we can keep these good stories rolling.
No, I appreciate that. We're
awesome. Well, let's go for the other 15-minute hike to get the other end of the spread.
Thanks. Do it.
With Dustin and Garrett from Academy Fabricators. We've been walking around their yard, hearing about the story of all the work they're doing, and I'm not sure folks understand how big some of these valve sections are that you guys are working on. What size of pipe is this? This is 40, 48 inch?
This is 48 inch.
48 inch?
Yeah, that's right. And this mainline block valve here is 98,000 pounds. So
98,000 pounds, just for the valve or the assembly?
The valves, I think, between 65, 70,000 pounds, but once we get these assemblies complete, they're weighing in about 98,000 to 110,000 pounds.
Nice. So tell me about the design that goes into this, how you guys figure out the logistics. And I mean, it's not, as people can appreciate it, I'm 6'2" and change, or 6'2" here roughly, and I mean, this is a big chunk of steel.
Yeah, so this project specifically was quite a challenge because one, lifting these valves and taking them out of the crates is a challenge in itself. But once you get them put all together, we have to find a place to handle them safely, to do the coating, and then get them to site safely. So what we did here, and you can see over there, is we put tents up on site.
Okay.
So we could use our RT cranes on site to do all the coating. So that way we didn't have to deal with...
so it looks like your tents are mobile. You put pipe on the sides and threw some axles on them, and you drag those around? Or?
That's right.
Oh, that's awesome.
We'll set the load out, and when we go around, you can see on the other side, we'll load all the valves in how we want to have them coated. The tent over, they'll do the blasting, they'll do the coating, then they'll pull the tent back for load out.
No kidding. That's a great idea. And again, having the yard space to do this is fantastic.
Yeah, that's the key piece to all this stuff. Trying to manage everything that you can on our site here, and then letting the smart tradesmen and women kind of add those attributes to everything so that you can use it time and time again, because there's a few of these to do. So the faster you make it, more efficient, the better it makes it for us.
Well, and that was kind of ties back in the dialogue we had before. So again, parity of esteem on a site like this, you got everybody figuring out, working together as a team to make sure it rolls. How many hours go into something like this?
Lots. This is weeks and weeks and months worth of work, and it's not just us. You got to think there was engineering that went into it. There's material management. There's quality throughout the entire process. We've even got subcontractors on here that are working with us. So, I mean, from start to finish, something like this is probably about a 6-month cycle.
Yeah.
That's not to mean that it's taking up a footprint on our shop for that long, but from start to finish, when we give the documentation and see this thing on the road, it's
Academy. We're looking at some test heads. So those folks out there that don't necessarily understand what we do in the line after it's buried, how does this thing work? What do you guys do with this?
Yeah, so we fabricate everything in our facility and we ship it out to the mainline contractors. They'll then weld it on the certain pipeline sections, and then they pressurize it with water to make sure there's no leaks and whatnot. I don't think a lot of people really appreciate how safe pipelines are and everything that goes into it. And this is one of the elements that's required to allow for safe transport of whatever liquid or gas they're having in the line.
Yep. And then my understanding too, Dustin, is like you guys do all this work here, obviously. And when I was with those other companies as a consultant before too, we did as much as we could in Canada.
Yeah.
Sometimes procurement, for the cost benefit of the project, you start looking at the numbers, you start doing some work offshore. I think over the last number of years, there's been some flaws in that, if I might say that tongue in cheek, with some of the issues we've faced with quality control and such. Are you seeing that trend continue, or is a lot of stuff coming back here, or are we still doing work offshore?
Yeah, well, historically as a company, I always looked at my competitors as being local, and it could be someone across the street or even provincially wide and whatnot. That's really changed over the last few years. So we understand and appreciate globalization, and we try and do what we need to do to make sure that we're competitive and we give a safe product at the end of the day. We've noticed more and more, whether it be facility or pipelines, that a lot of the opportunities are being extended overseas. It's a tough pill to swallow in some cases because we'd like to perform a lot of the work locally. We care a lot about these products. You see stuff kind of transported on the highways close to where you're fabricating and whatnot. So definitely opportunity, I think, for us as a nation and province and industry to do better.
Well, and I'm going to jump out on a limb here too, especially some of the projects like in the history, it was all privately funded, et cetera. You do what you can. When we've got publicly funded projects and they're wanting to offshore, I think that's the wrong message, because we're taking taxpayers' dollars, your tax dollars, and the folks around the area, and then we're supplementing and sending that somewhere else. And given that we got a lot of really good skilled people here, onshoring, if anything, COVID taught us our supply chains are fragile and globalization's great for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But you get a pandemic or something like that hitting, how do we keep things rolling if you keep shopping it all away? And again, my personal opinion, tax dollars, we should be spending our tax dollars here, keeping them in our economy for the right reasons. So it's nice to know that you can do this type of stuff, Dustin. Every time I come out here and see the work you guys do, it's like you've taken on another one and you're knocking it out of the park. So good on you. And this is neat stuff.